Shalom Aleichem, morning, welcome to our viewers on tour. Anytime, I want to dedicate this year for the tzlach of Ben Zion Ben Dosa, him and his family. Parashas Tzav, and maybe if we have time, a little Parashas Para. I have a friend who lives in Bnei Brak. And one day, he got out of the house, and he saw one of Gedolei Hador, I'm not going to tell you who it is, a man who's probably 84, 85 years old, comes out of his apartment, carrying the garbage bag, taking out the garbage. So this friend of mine goes over and he says, "Wow, Rebbe, thank you very much." He says, "Thank you for what?" "You just taught me a lesson, such an important lesson, that it's not beneath anyone's kavod to take out the garbage. You can take out the garbage." This Gadol looks at him, says, "What? You only realize this now? Tell me, what's the first avodah the Kohanim do every single day in the Beis HaMikdash? Kohanim, the most exalted people in Klal Yisrael. Beis HaMikdash, the holiest place in the world. What's the first avodah they do there every single morning? Tumas Hadeshen. We learn it in our Pasha, Perek Vav, Pasuk Dalet. What is Tumas Hadeshen? You take out the ashes off the Mizbeach, in essence, taking out the garbage. So the Kohanim can do that every single morning. And you're surprised that one has to do it in his house. You know what your problem is? You don't believe what Chazal say in Sota Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, that if a man, a husband and his wife, they merit, their house becomes a dwelling place for the divine. Ish ve'isha zachu, shchina b'neihem. So your house is a Beis HaMikdash. So if the Kohanim, that's the first thing they do every single morning, they take out the garbage. Why is it so strange to you and surprising that one should take out the garbage from his house? And in fact, you learn from the Kohanim, perhaps, that you don't even have to wait until your wife starts yelling, "Take out the garbage!" You can even do it before she does that. Or anything else, because this is a Beis HaMikdash. And a Beis HaMikdash has to be tidy and clean at all times. It's a dwelling place for the divine. Perek Vav, Pasuk Vav.
It's different because wasn't the word of the Shiras that he took it out?
The word of what?
Wasn't it Segula of the Shiras?
No.
Wasn't?
Bringing the Ktoires is a Segula Lashirus, and they fought over it, but not taking off the ashes off the Mizbeach.
Not they fought over going up the ramp also.
That's in order to do the Ktoires. Who's going to be Mephis the Ktoires first? And even if it was a Segula for Ashirus, so back in your place, you don't want to become rich? If your house is a Beis HaMikdash, mini Beis HaMikdash, but it's not. It's talking about the Ktoires. Perek Vav Pasuk Vav Esh Tamid Tukad Al HaMizbeach Lo Yisichbe. Constant fire on the Mizbeach at all times. The heart of the avodah in Beis HaMikdash is bringing the korbanos, and that has to be always the heart. Lev. What's the milui oisios? If we fill up the letters, if you look at the word lev in its entirety, lev is spelled lamed and beis. So lamed is spelled lamed mem daled, and beis is spelled beis yud taf. So the milui oisios of the word lev is tamid, the four letters that spell the word tamid. Mem daled on the lamed and yud taf on the beis. So that's tamid, which means the heart of the avodah, the heart, which means not just in Beis HaMikdash, to us, esh tamid, should be a fire, a constant fire throughout. Lev is all about tmidius, it's all about making sure it's constant. So it's interesting that this word, the Mizbeach, that's where the korbanos are brought, a Mizbecha is found 32 times throughout Tanakh. 32 is Gematria Lev, because that's the lev of the matter. The Agad Kala, the author of Ben Yisasar, he brings, why is it mentioned 32 times in Tanakh? Because that alludes to the Mishnah and Midas. It tells us that the size of the Mizbeach was Lamed Beis Amos by Lamed Beis Amos, 32 Amos by 32 Amos, and therefore it's mentioned 32 times in Tanakh. This pasuk is a very special pasuk. Esh Tamid Tukad Al HaMizbeach. Esh Tamid Tukad Al HaMizbeach. These words make up the Gematria of 1427. Tshuva, Tefillah, Tzedakah, 1427. Because if you want the real fire, and that is Tshuva, Tefillah, Tzedakah, and that should be Tamid. That should always be there. So Torah is eternal. If the Torah tells us about this pasuk, Esh Tamid, should always be fire on the Mizbeach, that's very good when you have a Mizbeach. And today, B'avonoseinu Harabim, when we don't have one, how do you apply this pasuk? Torah is eternal. If it says something, must be that we can say, we can use it now. How do we use this pasuk today? Can we use this pasuk today? Other than Shuvat Tfilat Tzedakah, obviously. Chiddush, which really shouldn't be a Chiddush, because these are our greatest poskim and the greatest authors. The Sefer Pele Yoetz, under Machshava, writes, he brings from Sifrei HaMekubalim, that if one has improper thoughts, bad thoughts, and he wants to remove them, wants to cancel them, he should have kavana when he mentions the words kira satan, not kara satan. He mentions, make sure that there's a shva under the kuf, kira satan, future command form, not kara satan in the past. And should say this pasuk esh tamid tukad al mizbeach lo yisichbe. And he should add another pasuk from Tehillim Kuf Yutes, pasuk Kuf Yud Gimel, Seyafim Sanesi Vesoirascha Ahavti. I hate those who harbor iniquitous thoughts, but your Torah I love. And then he should move his right hand on his forehead 3 times, and with Hashem's help, he says, this will help to remove all bad, wrong, improper thoughts, as long as you also try to do that. Don't rely just on the psukim. Try to remove the thoughts and focus on something else. Mishnah Bura in Siman Tzadiches, Seif Cotton Base, also gives some eitzes. He brings some Sefer Hagan, Sefer Kadmon, to cancel a bad machshava while davening. You want to focus, you want to have kavana, you can't. Bad machshavos come. One should say 3 times, P, P, P. What's P? Peyud is Rashi Tevos, Palti and Yosef, because in Sanhedrin Chaf Aleph Amud Beis we learn that they were able to conquer their Yetzer Hara. And then the Mishnah Bura says you should spit 3 times. But don't spit in a disgusting manner. Spit benachas, that's what he writes. And the tongue should be between the lips when you do so. And for sure, bevadai telecha machshava, that wrong thought that you're trying to kick out will go away. But the Mishnah Bura brings that the Magen Avraham wonders about this and says, listen, this is not 100% sure that it's going to work. Don't do this in the middle of Shmoneh Esrei, because that's going to constitute a hefsek in the middle of Shmoneh Esrei. And the Mishnah Bura continues and brings from the Elia Rabbah, in the name of Kitzur Ashla, a sgula to remove a wrong machshava before tefillah, which means before psuke de zimra. Move your hand, again, right hand, 3 times on the forehead, and every single time you do this, say a pasuk from Tehillim Nun Aleph, pasuk Yud Beis, Lev Tahor Bra Li Elokim, Veruach Nachon Chadesh Bekirbi. And so too, if he has a wrong machshava in the middle of tefillah, when you can't speak, so pause, be silent, and again, move your hand 3 times, and think about this pasuk, and it will help. Reb Chaim Volozhin, he brings that when one says the words of tefillah, he should visualize those letters that come out of his mouth, and that will help to remove all bad machshavas and to draw a lot of kedusha on the person. Try it and let me know if these things work, please. The Gemara in Shabbos Daf Peiches Amud Aleph says, Divrei Torah yesh bahem la'achayos. Haynu de'amar Rava, yesh bahem la'amis. Divrei Torah can kill or invigorate a person, give him life. Rava says, Lama yiminim ba, it's a sam chaim. Lama smilim ba, it's a sam moisa. To those who do the right thing and go to the right with the Torah, it's a poison of life. Gewaldik. But to those who go to the other side, it's the opposite of life. Where is this alluded to in the Torah? Must be. We have a rule. Everything is hinted in the Torah. The answer is in our Pasha. The Pasuk says, Perek Zayin, Pasuk Lamed Zayin, Zois Torah, La'oila, V'lamincha, V'lachatas, V'la'asham. In other words, Zois Torah, when you learn Torah, Lishma, it's La'oila. It's Oila Kalila Hashem. The entire thing goes up to Hashem. But if Khalila, one learns for a different reason, so then that same Torah, Zois Torah, it becomes Lachatas V'la'asham. So it can be a Sam Chaim, and it can be Chas v'Shalom, the opposite. Vayikra Perek Zayin, Pasuk Aleph. Zois Toiras Ha'asham, Kodesh Kodoshim Hu. Literally, this is the law of the guilt offering. It's most holy, Kodesh Kodoshim. 2 different interpretations, the opposite of each other. And that fits what we said before. Zois Toiras Ha'asham. Why does a person come to bring a guilt offering, he is to blame, he is at guilt. Zo is Torah Hashem because Kodesh Kodashim hu, because he thought about himself, I'm Kodesh Kodashim. He is so arrogant. He thinks he's such a Kodesh, and therefore Torah Hashem, or the opposite. Zo is Torah Hashem. A person who always thinks he is Hashem, he is at fault. He's always going to do tshuva. He's always going to be in the process of introspection and fixing himself, correcting himself, bettering himself, and therefore the pasuk testifies, Kodesh Kodashim hu. A person like that is Kodesh Kodashim. Imal toida yakrivenu. A person who had a miracle performed for him has to bring a korban toida, thanksgiving offering. Korban toida is a kochim kalim, as opposed to other kochim kalim, which can be eaten in 2 days and 1 night. Korban toida is eaten day and night, and that's it. But with this korban toida, you also bring some breads. How many breads? 40 loaves of breads. 10 are chametz and 30 different types of breads. But why so much bread? Not only is it a lot of bread, you're also minimizing the time that you have to eat it. For other korban shlamim, all the korban shlamim are the same. You have 2 days and a night. Here you're only giving me 1 day and a night, and you're making me eat so much. So the Imre Emes says, why do you eat this korban? You're celebrating the miracle that happened to you. If you want to extend it over to tomorrow and eat yesterday's miracle tomorrow, you're in essence saying, there are no new miracles that happened to me today. I'm celebrating yesterday's miracle because I'm still waiting for more. You're still waiting for more miracles? Open your eyes. See how many miracles HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestows upon you every single second. And therefore it's not shayach to take yesterday's miracle and to eat it today. Because in essence you're denying the ongoing miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu performs for us every single minute. In Megillah Daf Zayin Amud Beis is the language of Chazal. Lo bechol sha'ata v'sha'ata israch nisa. Not every hour does a miracle happen, but the Chazon Ish read it differently. Instead of saying lo bechol sha'ata v'sha'ata, not every hour is there a miracle, he read it lo! Exclamation mark. Bechol sha'ata v'sha'ata israch nisa. Every single hour there's a miracle that's being performed to you. Get up in the morning, your digestive system is working, your eyes are fine, your shoulders okay, your brain, you're here, you have a wife, you have a house, you have a car, whatever it is that you have. No! Bechol shata v'shata, every single hour, every single minute, there's a miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu performs for us. That's the Imre Emes. The Amek Davar, and actually before him the Abarbanel. And they both say the same thing. Why so much bread in such a short time? Because you must consume it all. You can't leave over. And therefore you're going to have to call all your friends, all your neighbors, everyone that you know, and you're going to have to tell them over what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for you, the miracle, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be talking about these issues. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to retell all the miracles that He does for us. And therefore, to increase our Hakarat HaTov, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, have a lot of breads. You're not going to be able to? Great. Bring all your friends. Make sure they have a small appetite so you can bring more friends. So you can speak about it because that's what it's all about, Hakarat HaTov. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to have Hakarat HaTov. In fact, there's a medrash, Bereishis Rabbah, in Parshat Tzadiches Osvav, the medrash says, why are we not called Reuvenim? Why are we not called Shimonim? Leviim, they came before Yehuda, yet we are called Yehudim. Why are we called Yehudim? And the Medrash comments on the pasuk, Yehuda ata yoducha achecha. Achecha, your brothers, will be using your name, Yehuda. And that's what we are called Yehudim. Why? Because Yehuda comes from the shoyresh of hoida. What's hoida? In Hebrew, it has two meanings. It's an admission, and it's also thank you. It's two for the price of one. When one does a favor to you, it gives you a gift, you say thank you. But if you didn't really need this gift, you weren't really missing anything, you'll still say thank you, but it's not a real, deep, sincere thank you. You're saying thank you because somebody did something for you. But if you realize that you were missing something, and that person filled that you were lacking, then not only is it thank you, first it's an admission I was missing something, and you gave me that which I needed, and therefore the thank you is much deeper and much more sincere. And therefore, since we realize that every single second of every single day we are missing everything without HaKadosh Baruch Hu's help, that's what we are called Yehudim, because we admit that without HaKadosh Baruch Hu's help, we wouldn't make it, and therefore we say thank you out of admission, and that's what we are called, not Reuvenim, not Shimonim, we are Dafka, called Yehudim, because Hakarat HaTov is our essence. That's what we're all about.
It says that you call Yehudim because you're kofir Rav Gazara.
That's a Gemara, right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvoi.
Amen.
Aboy say, question of the week. Still remember Adam Arishon? We met him a few months ago. Where was he kicked out of Gan Eden? Why was Adam Arishon kicked out of Gan Eden?
He was getting it from the tree of Chaim, right?
Because he ate.
Oh, no. I thought it was because he could not, because he sinned, but honestly because he could not eat from Eitz Chaim as opposed to Eitz Das. Right? Eitz Chaim was still remaining, and Hashem said, let's get him out so he can't eat from that. Am I correct?
But why was he kicked out? Did he do something wrong in order to be kicked out? If he did everything right, he would stay. What did he do wrong?
He ate from Eitz Das?
He ate!
Okay, yeah.
Anyone begs to differ? Pashut, right? We all agree he ate. That's the reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you! Out! If you're right, you have a problem with the Medrash. Vayikra b'Parsha Chavtes, or Yis'alef, maybe we should say it in Parshas Bereshis, a big Chiddush. The Medrash says, everything that happened back then on a Friday, that was Rosh Hashanah. And the Medrash goes through the hours of the day. What happened? The first day, Allah b'machshava, to create him. The second day, the second hour, HaKadosh Baruch Hu consulted with the angels, how to do it, should we do it? And then every single hour, what happens until finally he is out there. On the 7th hour, HaKadosh Baruch Hu instilled a neshama in him. On the 8th hour, he brought him into Gan Eden. On the 9th hour, he commanded him, do this and don't do that. On the 10th hour, of Adam Arishon transgressed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, just don't touch this, don't eat this. And Adam Arishon did. On the 11th hour, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put him in court. He judged him. And on the 12th hour, he was atoned for. Wait a second. The Medrash continues. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Adam Arishon, this will be a siman to you. Just like you stood in front of me on Rosh Hashanah, and you were forgiven and were atoned for, so too your offspring, Klal Yisrael, will stand in front of me in judgment on Rosh Hashanah every single year. And they too will be atoned for on Rosh Hashanah. If that's the case, why was Adam Arishon kicked out of Gan Eden? It can't be because he ate, because he was already atoned for. Rabbi say, back to the drawing board. Why was Adam Arishon kicked out of Gan Eden? I'm not making this up. It's a Medrash Shama and Vayikra. Parsha Chavtes, Parsha Semo. Why was he kicked out of Gan Eden? Says the Medrash Mishnas Rabbi Elazar. Parsha Zayin, listen to our language. Lo nitrad Adam Arishon megan Eden ela al kfiyus toiva. Because he was ungrateful. That's the reason he was kicked out of. Why was he ungrateful? Because he said, Vayomer Adam, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked him, what'd you eat? He says, me. It's because of her. It's the wife that you gave me. Haisha shenasata imadi. Nothing to do with me. It's all her. That's what you say?
Kilu is blaming Hashem. You gave me the wife.
Starting with a wife. Then maybe we'll talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But Lemaise, it's her. Nothing to do with me. Why'd you give it to me? That's Kfiyus Teva. This is what you talk to Ibn Shalom. I gave you a wife. The Gemara says without a wife a person is half a mensch. So I give you a wife and that's your Hakarat HaTov, your shekoyach. You get out. Chiddush. That's why he was kicked out. Why? Because Kfiyus Teva. Hakarat HaTov, appreciation, is so huge. We even have Hakarat HaTov to birds. Birds. There's a mitzvah called Kisui Adam. You shech the bird. You have to cover the blood. Why? Why do you have to cover the blood? Says the Nachal Kedumim, Rabbeinu Achido. He brings two midrashim, two different versions of the Maaseh. The reason for the mitzvah of Kisui Adam is, Bereshis Rabbah, the Medrash says, when Cain killed Hevel, so Hevel is lying there in the field, and Cain didn't know what to do. There's still no burial in the world. Nobody was killed before. We don't know what to do at this point. So Cain is just hanging out. And he sees Hevel's body there in the field. And two birds came. And they dug up the ground. And they buried Hevel. And therefore they merit the mitzvah of Kisui Adam. They covered Hevel. So now we're going to cover their blood. That's what this says Medrash Rabbah. But in Medrash Tanchuma, it's brought that two birds came, and one killed the other, and dug up and buried its friend that he just killed. And from there, Cain learned there's such a thing called burial. And because we have an appreciation to the birds that they taught us this mitzvah called burial, therefore we cover their blood. I'm sorry?
It's enough food for the birds.
Why do people give out foods to the bird? I'm not talking halachically if this is permissible or not. It's not so pashut to do this. But what's the nature of this? Where does it come from to give out food to the birds? Pashas Shira?
You've got thousands and thousands of birds. Their lifespan is approximately, when they die, you ever see dead birds lying around unless a cat's eating it? Hashem builds into the Tzav of the bird. He knows when its time is up. He goes and hides in some bush. It's built into the Tzav of the bird.
But why do you give them food because of that?
It's not left around.
Great, but why do you give them food because of that? Parshas Shira, Shabbat Shira, Parshas B'Shalach. There's a minhag, again, I'm not saying it's okay halachically. It's not so pashut. But why do people do it? Why give out bread, food, crumbs, whatever they give to the birds? Says the Aruch HaShulchan, he's trying to be melamed zchus as he always does about people who do have this practice. He says, minhag Yisrael Torah, because the birds sang Shira. They sang to HaKodesh Baruch Hu, and therefore, Dafka here in Shabbos Shira, we give something to the birds. Is there a Hakarat HaTov to sheep? We saw birds. Sheep, what about sheep? Yaakov Avinu sends Yosef. What's the pasuk saying? Vayomer lo lechna, please go. Re'eh es shlom achecha, go see how your brothers are doing, and ve'es shlom hatzon. What do you mean? Go to the sheep and say, hey, guys, how you doing? You have regards, for my father. Why? Says the Medrash, פסיקתא זוטרתא, מכאן שצריך אדם לשאול בשלום דבר שיש לו הנאה ממנו. You benefited from the tzon. The meat, the wool, you have to have appreciation, and if you want to send them regards, you can do that. You have to have appreciation. There's Hakarat HaTov for donkeys.
Even before that, you built sukkahs.
That's to protect them. Who says appreciation?
Appreciation, he needed them.
He needed, no, but to ask, to send regards, it's not something that you have to do in order to protect them. The sukkahs, you need in order to protect your vehicle of the time. We have a Hakarat HaTov to donkeys. There's a mitzvah called Pidyon Peter Chamor. The Gemara asks in Bechoros Dafei Amud Beis, why are the donkeys so different than camels or horses, giraffes that don't have this mitzvah? Because when Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim, each one had 90 Libyan horses, donkeys, loaded with the silver and gold of Mitzrayim. They helped us. They assisted us when we left Mitzrayim, and therefore we have a Hakarat HaTov. I think we mentioned a few months ago, we have a Hakarat HaTov to dogs. Where do we see it with dogs? The pasuk says, "Ubasar basar de treifa lo tochelu." What should you do with it? La kelev tashlichu noisoy. Says the Medrash, Peresh Yisrael, Rashi brings it over there. Why to the dog? Because they didn't bark in Mitzrayim. So we have appreciation. Yerushalmi Maseches Tumis, Perek Ches, Halacha Gimel, we learned two maisim. A very important Rav came to town, and they had a whole big festive meal. They invited everybody over. And the Balabos sat this very important rabbi right next to his dog. So the rabbi says, are you trying to embarrass me or something? Did I do something wrong? Why are you putting the dog next to me? Or why are you putting me next to your dog? And he says, Chas v'sholom, rabbi would never do that. But last week, there was an armed robbery here. And there's a few guys that came, and this dog, he jumped on these people, and he scared them. Who knows why? He bit them. The Gemara says exactly where. And they ran away. He saved my wife's life. He saved my life. And therefore appreciation to the dog. And the Gemara doesn't make fun of this. You see it makes sense? On the same page, the Gemara continues. There were some shepherds who were sitting, and they wanted to have something to eat and to drink. So they had a glass of milk. And then they went outside, I guess, to wash their hands for bread. They went outside for a few seconds. And a snake came and put some poison inside. The dog saw this. The shepherds did not. So when they came back, they were about to reach and grab the milk, and the dog starts barking like crazy. And they don't know the dog's barking what it means. So they're ignoring it and about to reach for the milk. and the dog wanted to protect their lives, so it jumped on the milk, he drank the milk, and he died. Psikta de Rav Kahana, Perek Yud Aleph, it says that they put a matzeva there. They buried the dog, and they put a matzeva, tziyun lenefesh akelev. Biliploin, appreciation to the dog.
I read once in Poland, it's supposed to say for the fish. I don't remember the story. Something to do with the fish that they buried in Tzav. Maybe the fish spoke or something like that. Is there like a way of that story?
From time of Chazal? Or something?
Like some probably time of the Lamar, that kind of period. Kept the fish in Poland. I heard something, I just don't remember the details.
Find the source for us. I think 25 or maybe 30 years ago, Rabbi Yosef Zatzal had a major operation. He was 92 at the time, and nobody thought he's going to make it. Nobody wanted to do the surgery. But there was a rabbi, a doctor they brought from the States, a Goyish doctor, and he said, I think I can do it. He had experience doing this before, and he said, I think I can do it. Before the operation, Rabbi Yosef came to him, and he said, I want to tell you two things. First of all, don't feel any pressure. They're probably telling you he's a very old man, 92-year-old, he's a very chashuv rabbi. Don't feel any pressure. If it's successful, great. You should know it's because of Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted to keep me here for whatever reason. And if it's not successful, it's not because of you. It's because of Kodesh Baruch Hu wants me upstairs in the Shiva Shel Mala. So don't feel any pressure. Know it's in the hands of Ribono Shel Olam. And I also want to tell you, thank you. Because I'm not sure I'm going to be here later to say thank you. But before this thank you, he asked his grandchildren to teach him how to say thank you in English. Thank you, shmenk you, thank you. It took him half an hour, he broke his teeth. Finally, he was able to say thank you. So his grandson who was teaching him said, Saba, we don't understand. You rely on us to translate to you the most complicated medical questions back and forth with the doctor. But when it comes to thank you, no. You have to say thank you in English, in the doctor's language. Why is it so important to you? So Rabbi Yosef told him, if you say thank you in a language that the person doesn't understand, it's gunisht, it's meaningless. By Rabbi Yosef, everything is a source. If it doesn't exist somewhere, what's the source? So Rabbi Yosef explains. Look at the repetition, Chazal Asashatz. We ask the Chazan, do me a favor, ask on my behalf. Atachoinin la'adam das. I'd like to have wisdom to understand the Toshis Maseches Yevamus. And maybe there's a sick person. Refa'enu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Heal our sick, but you do it for me. I want Parnasa, Birkas Hashanim. Chazan, you do it all. But when it comes time to say thank you to Ribono Shel Olam, Moedim, we say, Chazan, you do your thing, we're going to do our own. We stand up and we bow down and we say, Moedim anachnu lach. We don't need to say thank you through a shaliach. Saying thank you through a shaliach is meaningless. This what Rabbi Yosef is saying is already Abu Draham from the Rishonim. He brings this on Moedim de Rabbanan. You see how far we have to go with this idea of appreciation. 3 questions. Why do we have so many mitzvahs? Question number 1. Question number 2. Anyone knows why we were created? What's the reason? And the 3rd question is, why do we gather in shuls? Seemingly these questions are not related. Anyone can offer any 1, 2, 3 answers? Why do you have so many mitzvahs? Why do we gather in the shuls? Why were we created bichlal?
Mitzvahs wants to give us the opportunity.
To do what?
To connect with him.
To connect. That's the reason. Therefore, so why do you gather in the shul? Ratzah Kodesh Baruch Hu Zakos Yisrael, and therefore He gave us a lot of mitzvahs. That means that why we have so many mitzvahs, why we were created. All these 3 questions are connected.
Right.
Listen to a Ramban. Only the Ramban can say this. At the end of Parashas Bo, I'm reading to you a language of the Ramban. Lefichach Amru. In Pirkei Avos, Chazal say, Hevei Zahir b'mitzvah kala kevechamura. Be careful to perform the light mitzvahs as you are with the strict heavy-duty mitzvahs. Why? Shekulan, all of them, chamudois v'chavivos meod. They're all very dear to us. Shebechol sha adam moide bahen leilokav. When you do a mitzvah, you're in essence saying thank you to Ribono Shel Olam. Vekavanas kol ha-mitzvahs, and the intention, the kavana behind all the mitzvahs, shenamin be'elokeinu, that we should believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ve'noide elav shehu bra'anu, and we should thank him for creating us. And now the Ramban says something. If you're not a Ramban, you're not allowed to say this. Vehi kavanas hayetzira, and this is the intention. This is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us. She'en lanu ta'am acher bayetzira harishona. There is no other reason for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to create people other than ve'en kel elyon chafetz batachtoinim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't desire people who are in this world milvad, except sheyeda ha'adam ve'yoide le'elokav shebra'o. The only reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us is for us to realize, recognize that He created us, and thank Him. Vekavanas roimemus hakol b'tfilah. So why do we daven and raise our voice in tefillah? Vekavanas batei hakneisios, and the reason we have shuls and we gather them in them. Uzchus tfilas harabim zehu. What's the reason for all these? Sheyiyeh libnei adam makom yitkabtzu. So people should have place to gather. Veyoidu lakel shebra'am vehimtzi'am. To thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for creating us. Veyefarsemu zeh. They should publicize this. Veyomu lefonav b'yosecha anachnu. Should say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we are your creatures. That's the reason we have so many mitzvahs. That's the reason we were created, and we gather in shuls. Bilei ploim. Why? Chas v'sholom, we should be ungrateful. We were created in order to be makir toivet HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to say thank you. Based on all the above, let me ask, Rabbi Yisai, Dayani Mumchim, Ashayla. Shayla Nalacha. It's a guy by the name of Reuven. He went to the city of Tzfat for Shabbos. While he's there, major heart attack. He was rushed to a hospital in Tzfat. The hospital's name is Ziv. And he was rushed to the hospital, and they started working on him. And they're pumping his heart, and they're doing this, and they're doing that, and electric shock, and what. After 2 hours, the doctor gave up. There's a bunch of doctors there, and they all gave up, and they want to go downstairs to prepare the death certificate. But there was another doctor there, not so Jewish. And he said, guys, I don't think we should give up. I think we should continue. No, the guys are gone. It's finished. It's over. And they leave the room. They go downstairs. And this Eino Yehudi doctor continues to work. And he pumps, and he pumps, and he pumps, and electric shock, and this, and this, and this. 2 hours. And after 2 hours, Trias Amesim. Guy's back. And the guy has such appreciation to this doctor. He says, I feel I have 2 birthdays. My biological birthday, and the day that this doctor brought me back to life. And he formed a very nice relationship with him. And every day, every year on the yahrzeit of his Trias Amesim, he sends him flowers, and wine, and chocolate. He has a nice relationship with him for 20 years. Fast forward 20 years. After 20 years, this Reuven heard that the doctor lost kidney function. He needs a kidney transplant. Otherwise, he won't be able to continue to live. He went to the doctors, and they tested him, and they said, you're a good candidate. You can donate. Comes Reuven and asks, should I donate the kidney to the Eino Yehudi doctor? Appreciation. Trias Amesim. He saved my life. I want to save his life in return. Rabbi Yisai, what do you say? Yes, no, maybe. Sources. Yes. Yes, no.
The news will get out.
Do we have Hakarat HaTov to Eino Yehudi?
If he did, if what he
Do we have Hakarat HaTov to Eino Yehudi?
Yes.
You have a Hakarat HaTov.
Sources.
If you have a Hakarat HaTov to a dog, surely you have a Hakarat HaTov to any you.
Who says there are sources that the dog... Or Chaim, Parshas Shemini, I think, coming up. That's the same Kal V'chomer from the dogs. Who says?
Well, but if the dog is an issue, then
Here's not just about the dog. Here he's actually he's putting himself in possible. I don't know if there's any harm in that. He's taking away from his own body.
Yeah. How far do you have to go with Hakarat HaTov? That's the question. Let's say the doctor's saying it's not dangerous. And in fact, giving a kidney is not considered a very dangerous operation. It's not dangerous at all, and people can live for many, many years without one kidney. It's fine. People do it all the time. But anytime you go, for an operation, there's an element of sakana. Rabbi says, there are Hakarat Tov for Yehudi.
Surely you can't ignore it. Hashem, like, Nebuchadnezzar, the evil king, he gave kavod to Hashem.
So Kodesh Baruch Hu rewarded him.
Yeah, so we're supposed to emulate.
Show me that we humans have Hakarat Tov.
For sure there's Hakarat Tov. The question is how far? Yeah.
For sure there's a Hakarat Tov. Who told you?
Yeah.
Sources.
When, I don't remember which king it was saved by a Kushi. He was in pit and I don't remember which one was it.
So what was his reward? How do we show appreciation?
Well, he had that I don't remember the reward.
Let's see.
Yeah, Moshe Rabbeinu and Yisro also. Yitro, he actually greeted him first, before his wife, Hakarat Tov, for being his father-in-law.
Good.
You can't ignore Hakarat Tov. He's done something good for you. You can't ignore it.
Before not ignoring, show me a source that I'm obligated in Hakarat Tov.
Yosef Asadi,
What about Yosef?
When the wife of Potiphar wanted to be with him, he said, my master has appointed me in charge of everything in his house. How can I do such a thing?
So I don't want to do something wrong, but show me that he's doing something positive. He's giving him something. Let's see. We saw before, HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked Adam HaRishon, why'd you eat? And the first thing that he said, not me. She told me to eat, and I have to listen to your wife. Happy life. It's all about her. Lack of appreciation. Rashi on that pasuk says, Kan kafar batoiva. He was ungrateful. So this guy says, I don't want to be koifa batoiva. This doctor gave me back my life. I want to show appreciation. In the Tanakh, we find many times that the Nevi'im call Klal Yisrael Bnei Adam. And the Rishonim say, you are koifrim betoiva, kfuyei toiva, just like your forefather Adam HaRishon. Just like here we see in the story that he was kfui toiva, he was ungrateful. You are behaving in his way. You're going in his ways. It's a terrible thing. We don't want the Navi to call a person a kfui toiva. So Reuven says, I want to give. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, I want to send you. Go, take my people out of Mitzrayim. You'll deliver the Torah. What do you say? Sounds good, right? Moshe says, no, sorry, I can't. What do you mean you can't? Medrash Rabban Shemois, Pasha Dalet, Ois Beis. Listen to our language. Moshe says, I'm sorry, I can't because I have to go ask permission first from my father-in-law Yisro. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, excuse me. I'm asking you to take out my kids from Mitzrayim. He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I won't be able to until Yisro says okay. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, why? And Moshe says, when I was back there, he opened his door and he hosted me. He hosted me. I owe him my life. So if he gives me permission to leave, no, sure, I'll be the first one to do it. But if he says no, I'm sorry, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I won't be able to do it. Pilei Ploi. Moshe is consistent. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, go fight Midian. Listen to a language of Chazal. Yalkut Shimoni. In Medbar. Iba Medbar Remez Tafshin Pei Hey. Next year. The Medrash says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Nekom be'atzmecha. You should take revenge of the Midianites yourself. Ve'hu sholeach acheirim. And he sends other people instead, says the Medrash, because he grew up in Midian, he says, it's not right that I should go and fight people who help me. As the mashal says, this is what famous mashal that people use. If you have some water from the well, don't start throwing stones inside. It's just not right. Gilion HaMaharsho in Yoredea, Hilchos Ribis, Simen Kuf Nun Tes, he brings from what the Radak explains the pasuk in Tehillim, Kaspo Lo Nasan Beneshech, the Torah asks us to take interest from a Yid, but you're allowed to take interest from a person who is not. Right? We all agree? Comes the Gilion Maharsha and writes, but if an Eino Yehudi did you some kind of a favor, did some kind of a toiva v'chesed im Yisrael, chayav ha-Yisrael la'asos imo gam chesed ulehetiv imo. The Yid is obligated to do a chesed in return. So he suggests, you know what chesed you should do with him? Even though normally you can take from him interest, don't. Because some people, if you give them a gift, they're embarrassed, they don't want to take a gift. But everybody will be willing to borrow money without paying you back in interest, just pay back. She says that's the greatest chesed that you can do with the Eino Yehudi, who you're obligated to toiva to. Pile ploy. Yonasan ben Uziel. We go back to Yosef, but a different story. The pasuk says that he took the land from all the Egyptians, except Ad Masakoyarim, the priest land, he didn't touch. Why? The Yonasan ben Uziel there brings that when the wife of Potiphar blamed him, accused Yosef for doing the wrong thing, the Koyanim, the Egyptian priest said, wait a second, lady, wait a second. Give us the linen, give us the sheet that you claim that's where it happened. And they took it to the lab, and they came back after 3 days and said, lady, you're lying. This is egg white. It's not what you're claiming. And because of this, they didn't kill him. So Yosef felt such appreciation for the Egyptian priests, he says, we're not going to touch their land. It's a tremendous raya, no? Tremendous. No, it's not. Why? Because here he just didn't take from them, but we still don't have a raya that you can give to the Eino Yehudi. Yosef is passive. We need a raya for somebody who's actively giving something to an Eino Yehudi. But we find something. The spies go into Yericho. Who were the spies that were sent to Yericho?
Yeshua and Caleb.
Yeshua and Caleb go inside. And they're hosted and hid by Mrs. Rachav. Before they leave, he said to her, listen lady, we're going to come back with the entire Israeli army. Ooh, it's going to be dangerous. We're going to wipe this place out. We're coming with the F-16s. We have tanks. Don't ask. Is there anything that you would like to ask from us? And she says, yes, please spare me and my family. And they use a language in Yeshua, Perek Beis, Pasuk Yudalet, listen to a language. Nafsheinu tachtechem lamus. We are willing to be moiser nefesh for you. Why? The Radak says, if somebody touches you or your family, we will fight and we will be willing to be moiser nefesh. You were moiser nefesh for us. If the neighbors would know that she's hiding these Jewish people, they would decapitate her. No question about it. You were moiser nefesh for us, we will be moiser nefesh for you. Aboy says, is that good enough of a reason? Good enough of a source? What do you need more than that?
I think the strongest source is the fact that Yeshua married her.
That's after she converts. That's not a problem. Aboy say, good source? Good source, everybody agrees you have to give it to the doctor. The problem is, Rabbi Yosef didn't think like this. Rabbi Yosef says, what are you comparing? What are you bringing in this story? What story of Rachav? What's the connection? She was moiser nefesh. What did she do? She hid them. If any of the neighbors would find out, they would shoot her. They would take a knife and slash her throat within 2 seconds. What did this doctor do? The doctor is a hired professional. He works in the hospital and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. That's why he gets a salary. He worked. Unlike some people who work there just to be I've been there, done that. Oh, I tried, it didn't work. He did above and beyond. But what did he do? He was moiser what? Moiser nefesh? No. He was moiser his koyach. To do the right thing. To work and to be compensated with the salary that he gets every single end of the month. What did he do? Where's the Mesiras Nefesh? You're saying he gave you back his life. Excuse me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you back his life. In other words, it's not about the result. The result is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hands. It's about what the person did for you. What did he do? He worked. He's a doctor. He's supposed to do this. So he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And therefore you owe appreciation. But it's not proportionate. He worked for 2 hours extra. Great. Send him flowers. Give him money. A bigger bottle of wine. Chocolate. Whatever you want. But a kidney for 2 hours of work, it's not proportionate at all. And therefore, if he was a Yid, you have a problem if you don't give him of the pasuk. Lo ta'amod al dam re'echa, it's a pikuach nefesh hayla. And you're still not chayav, but it's the biggest mitzvah. You're not chayav. But it's a big mitzvah. But with a person who's an Eino Yehudi, since they just don't match, you potentially have a problem, 2 problems. Lo techoinim, giving a gift when you're not supposed to an Eino Yehudi, and choivel be'atzmoi. As you said, it's kind of a dangerous thing. You have to cut inside and bleed. Not so pashut that you can. So Rabbi Yosef didn't like it, and didn't like the sraya, even the raya from Rachav, because it's not comparable. This is Mesiras Nefesh. She gave over her life, she was willing to give. What did he give? 2 hours extra work, shkoyach to you, but that's exactly what you're supposed to do. So have appreciation, but it has to be proportionate to what the person did. An insight. Since you did so good on the previous question, let's ask you another one.
Did he give it or didn't he give it?
After hearing from Rabbi Yosef, you think he did?
No.
Avade not. Why do you go ask? To listen to the question?
What about
To the answer?
what they did with Kiddush Hashem? The tremendous Kiddush Hashem that he would be doing. And then everybody would, talk about it and then realize the fact that this doctor saved him and he saved his life too.
First of all, he can give to one of his brothers, and there's a big list of people who need kidneys, a very big list. And second of all, if it's just about Kiddush Hashem, so why don't you go out right now and start looking for Einam Yehudim and give them. Give them money, give them gifts, give them flowers. Give Kiddush Hashem. Look, these people are so generous. It has to be proportionate. Hakarat HaTov has to be proportionate. And since it's not, you have a potential 2 problems here, Avlot Echoinim and Choivel Be'atzmoi. Aboy Sai, we'll use again the name Reuven. You know what? Confuse you. It's going to be Shimon now. Shimon goes in the city of Ashdod. He went into a supermarket. And he tells the story. Listen what happened. I'm going between the aisles, and suddenly I saw on one of the shelves a bag. And this looked like a very luxurious bag. He doesn't know why, but it seemed to him that there's a lot of good stuff in this bag, like cash and good other zachin. He doesn't know what took over him, and he felt this urge, and he took the bag. So I never stole before. It's the first time in my life. Mistama earlier that morning, he got a big bill from, I don't know if it's for the IRS. I don't know what happened. He took the bag. And he put it in his cart, and he quickly went out to the parking lot, put it in his car, starts driving away. It's quiet in the car. Suddenly he hears tick, 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 tick. What's that tick, 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 ticking noise? He opens the bag. There's a little timer there. It's a big bomb. 4 minutes to go. 3:59, 3:58, 3:57. What do you do? He drove like crazy to the beach in Ashdod, the sands. And he gets there, 50 seconds, 40 seconds, 10 seconds to go. He gets as far away from people as he can. He opens the window and throws his bag as far as he can. And 2 seconds later, tremendous explosion. Tremendous. Within a couple minutes, police force, Hatzala, Mada, anyone you can imagine. The media, the reporters, they all come there. And they take this Shimon. And they say, wow. You are a Gibor Yisrael! You saved so many people's lives in the supermarket. The place was packed. Wow! The following morning, they called him to the police headquarters, make a whole big ceremony, and they give him a big plaque. Gibor Yisrael! That night, Shimon was invited to a wedding. So he comes to the wedding, and the rabbi, the Mesada Kiddushin, sees Shimon. He says, oh, a person like this, we have to have him Ed. He has to be an Ed in the Kiddushin. A Gibor Yisrael, he saved so many people's lives, he must be the Ed. He was the Ed. The following morning, he comes to Beis HaMedrash and asks a question. Am I a Gibor Yisrael? He says, I'm a Ganav Yisrael. Am I qualified to be an Ed? Shulchan Aruch, Choshen Mishpat, Siman Lamed Daled, Seif Yud, the Shulchan Aruch clearly says. The language of the Shulchan Aruch is Ganav, V'chen Gazlan, Psulim Le'edus, disqualified to Edus. Ve'af al pi she'echziru, even if they returned what they took, ad sheyasu tshuva. But they gave back. So the Mefarshim explained, the Noisei Kerim explained, ad sheyachiru, that means if Beis Din forced them to give back, that doesn't qualify as tshuva. So they're still considered disqualified to Edus. So now, Shimon comes and asks, tell me, did I wreck their wedding? Is the wedding kosher? Is my being an Ed, if I'm disqualified, so there's missing an Ed, there's 2 Edim, there's only 1. So he made it kosher, the wedding was not kosher. Aboy say, Dayadi Mumchim. What do you say?
The bag is hefker.
The bag is hefker.
Nobody wants it. The owner of the bag doesn't want it.
So he didn't steal. Ah! Nazir Chav Gimel Amud Aleph Kiddushin Pei Beis Amud Aleph. A person intended to eat chazir, and he reaches to the chazir, he thinks it's chazir, and he takes it and he puts ketchup and he starts eating. And the Lemaise, it came out that it's kosher, but that's the greatest kashrus there is. What does the Gemara say? Chayav slicha v'kapara. He still needs to bang on his chest and say, Kodesh Baruch Hu. He's not so clean. Even if it's a hefker bag.
So what's his question? He can do tshuva.
So it's a ganav.
He can do tshuva. He's done.
Yeah, this moment.
Why is he still chayav slicha v'kapara? Lemaise he ate kosher meat.
To Hashem.
Why? Machshava. But in Kiddushin Lametes, Amud Beis, in Chulin Kuf Mem Beis, the Gemara says, Machshava ra ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu metzalfa lemaise. When a person has a bad thought, but he didn't act upon it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't combine it. Just machshava alone, you don't need kapara for.
But he did actually.
Oh, so the Chassam Sofer says, when is the HaKadosh Baruch Hu not mitzarev, doesn't combine the machshava to a maise? When there is no maise. But when there is a maise, and here he ate the kosher meat, but there was a maise, he needs slicha ve'kapara. And why do you need kapara? It's only machshava. Because Eina Mitzalva, Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't combine it to a Maise, that means the punishment for the Machshava is less. It's not like if he would have done a Maise, but he still needs kapara. So he says, Le Maise, I'm a ganav. I'm a ganav. In the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm a ganav. So how can the Kiddushin be valid?
Hakadosh Baruch Hu used him as an agent to save all those people. So don't we say that Hashem brings about good things for a person that's a zakai, and not the other way around.
So you still don't have to do tshuva for something wrong that you did on the way to do a mitzvah? Two parallel lines, two separate accounts. You have to do tshuva for those things that you did wrong, and you have to, you're going to be rewarded for those things you did right. What do you say? What do you say? Good wedding, bad wedding.
Again, the story of Joseph Asadi. Some of the Chazal say he intended to be with Potiphar's wife, but then he saw image of Yaakov.
And therefore?
So he didn't do anything.
And therefore?
So,
Baruch Hashem was saved.
well, but is he to be punished for the fault?
That you have to ask Ribono Shel Olam?
Yeah.
Not me?
So it's the same.
You have to go to accounting department upstairs and ask.
It's still called Yosef Asadik, isn't it?
Sheva Yipol Tzadik Vekam. A Tzadik can fall 7 times and rise. That's why he's called a Tzadik, because he's willing to stand up.
In this case, the fact that if he would have returned it, he would have returned the bag to the store, and the whole store would have gone up. You know,
But Lemaisa he intended to steal. Lemaisa intended to eat chazir. Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu turned things around that he ate kosher meat. Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu turned things around that he saved people. But Lemaisa he wanted to steal. If you want to steal, is he a kosher eight? Who even says that when he was driving there, those 4 minutes, Eimas Mavis, the fear, that's already the kapara. In Itzlicha ve'kapara. We said in Tshuva, Shulchan Aruch. He has Tshuva. You see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu found the best way to wake this guy up, and the following morning he came to Beis HaMikdash to ask, is it good? Is it not good? What do I do? Maybe we have Tshuva. So we have Tshuva and we have kapara, and maybe it should be okay. And in fact, the Nachal Yitzchak, Yitzchak Elchanan Spector, Simon Lamed Aleph writes Lehedya, that a person who had the bad machshava, but Lemaise didn't eat it, he wanted to take the chazir, but Lemaise he ate the kosher meat. Yes, he needs slicha ve'chapara, but he is not a disqualified ed. He's a kosher ed, and therefore the wedding are valid, kiddushin are valid, everything is okay, and we don't have to tell anybody about it to wreck their party from last night. Who has to bring korban toida? 4 people. We remember it by the siman v'chol hachayim yodu chaselel. Yodu chaselel. What is chayim? Chet yud mem. Chet is chavush, a person who was in jail, or a choyle shenisrapa, a person who was sick and he is healed. Yud yamim. He was in the ocean. Another yud chayim. Either choyle, he had yisurim, or he was in jail, yisurim. And the other mem is midbar. He was in the desert. Anyone else needs to bring a korban toida? Chidish Rabbeinu b'chayei. Achasan and Kala have to bring korban toida. Why? Says the Ben B'chai. In Yerushalmi Perek Gimel, in Bikurim, Perek Gimel Halacha Gimel, we learn that one who rises to a prominent position, or a convert, or a person who gets married, all his sins are erased. So he says it's as if until now you're in shackles of your sins, as if you're sitting in jail with all your sins, and now they're erased. So just like a prisoner who is released has to bring korban toida, Chassan veKala have to bring a korban toida. A tremendous chiddush. This is a big chiddush, but there's a bigger chiddush, I think. Halachos gedolos, chelek aleph siman zayin. He brings from the Mahari Buton that was asked. Chassan and Kala. A Chassan. He comes and he asks, I'm getting married. Do I have to say Shechianu? I have a new Kala. And the Mahari Buton answered him, you're asking me a Shechianu? Maybe you should say Baruch Dayan Emes? What? So some explained that the Gemara in Brachos Daf Ches, it says that when a person gets married in Bavel, they used to ask him, Matzah or Moitze? Matzah referring to the pasuk, the positive one, Matzah Isha, Matzah Toiv. Moitze referring to the pasuk, Moitze ani mar mimaves esa Isha. So when you're in that junction before, it's just, you're getting married tonight. It's not after living with her for 25 years. Do you really know if it's Matzah or Moitze? So who told you have to say Shechianu? Maybe you have to say Baruch Dayana Emes. One who says, Agoimel, what do we respond? Amen. As opposed to all other brachos, we don't stop there. We add. What do we say? Why do we add another Mishpat Baruch HaTov? Kol Tov Sela. All the other brachos, you say Amen and that's it. Why here you add more? The Shalmei Toida says, because it says in Chazal, that one who had a miracle performed for him, and that's why you're saying Agoimel, they deduct from his chusim. And therefore we wish this person, not only do we say Amen to his bracha, we wish him that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should continue to do more schusim for you, more nisim, so your schusim are not going to be deducted and extinguished. You're not going to have any more schusim. Imitzvah Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu should continue to add schuyos to you, and you should have many more miracles performed. Reb Chetzkel Abramski Zatzal had an unbelievable insight into something that we are very familiar with, a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Perek Mishnah Hey. The Mishnah details the 10 miracles that happened to our forefathers in Beis HaMikdash. What are those 10 miracles? Listen to our language, and I'm going to emphasize a certain word. Lo! Hipila isha mireach b'sar HaKodesh. No woman miscarried from the odor of the sacred flesh. Velo! Hisriach b'sar HaKodesh me'oilam. The sacred flesh never became putrid. Velo! Nireh zvuv b'beis HaMizbachayim. No fly was ever seen in the slaughterhouse. Velo ira keri la kohen b'yom HaKippurim. Kohen Gadol never had a keri in Yom Kippur. Velo kibur geshamim esh shel atzei ha'ma'aracha. The rains did not extinguish the fire of the woodpile. Velo nitzcha haruach es amud ha'ashan. The wind did not prevail against the column of smoke. Velo nimtza psul. No defect was found, not in the omer, or in the tulos, or in the showbread. Millions of people. They're standing there, very crowded. And yet, when they bow down, plenty of space for almost for everyone. Never did a serpent or a scorpion harm anyone in Yerushalayim. There's no room here. Can't move. Says Reb Chetzkel Abramski. We just read 10 miracles. 9 out of the 10 is in the negative formulation. Lo. You see from here that even when nothing happens, you have to say thank you to Rebbeinu Shlema. We wait until a miracle happens to me. Oh, you saw what happened to me? Shh. I got to say thank you to Rebbeinu Shlema. When you get up and nothing bad happened, you also have to say thank you to Rebbeinu Shlema. As we said before, you got up in the morning, your digestive system is still working. Nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. Baruch Hashem. You don't think this calls for a thank you to Rebbeinu Shlema? It's not 2 or 3 out of the nisim. 9 out of the 10 nisim are formulated in the negative form. Velo. To tell you, even when nothing happens, we owe thank you. A major thank you to Rebbeinu Shlema. There's a Yalkut Shimoni in Bo, Remez Kuf Tzadi Aleph that says,
I mean, even we think nothing happens. There's so many miracles.
that's exactly it. The ongoing miracles, the concealed ones, are the ones that we have to say thank you always for. You don't have to wait till something open and revealed happens to you. In Yalkut Shimoni, in Bo Remez Kuf Tzadi Aleph, the Medrash says, never did a person go to sleep in Yerushalayim with his sins. With his sins. They would bring korbanos. Korbanos atone for the sins. You go to sleep in Yerushalayim, you're sinless. It's gewaldig. That's what we wait for. That's what we daven. We strive for. We yearn. We ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring it back. Where is the source of this? In the Torah. Moishav skenim ala Torah. They say, it says in the Pasuk, Perek Zayin, Pasuk Tzav. B'yom korbano yachel, the day of the korban that is brought, lo yaniach mimenu ad boiker. Lo yaniach mimenu means, refers to the sin. You're not going to have it by the time you wake up in the morning. It's all atoned for. You have no sins. That's what we ask. Please bring us back Yerushalayim, Beis HaMikdash, korbanos, so we in fact can bring korbanos there, and we are going to be sinless. We'll finish with Parashas Para. We're going to read tomorrow. The Oraisa or the Rabbanon? Who says the Oraisa? Who says? Who says the Oraisa? Where'd you get it from?
The Torah says it.
Huh? Torah says, thou shalt read Parashas Para every year. I'm commanding you. Do you find that in your Parasha? Where is it? Parashas Mitzvah?
No, it doesn't say that.
You're trying to send us to Shulchan Aruch. Who says the mitzvah is from the Torah? Maybe it's a rabbinic in nature. Who told you it's from the Torah? You're sending us to Shulchan Aruch, or Chaim, Siman Taf Reish Pei Hei. Right? Shulchan Aruch say in Seif Zayin, Yesh Oimrim, some say, שפרשס זכור ופרשס פרה חייבים לקורם מדאורייסה. The Magen Avraham says, really? גם לא ידעתי, היכן רמיזה, פרשס פרה בדאורייסה, says the Magen Avraham. I have no clue. Where is this alluded to in the Torah? Comes Eismach Moshe and says, I'll tell you where. When it comes to Chet HaEgel, the Pasuk says, Zachor ve'al tishkach. Should remember this. It's a mitzvah d'oraisa to remember Chet HaEgel. But the Magen Avraham and Siman Samech says, so if there's a mitzvah to remember it always from the Torah, why didn't Chazal institute for us, or the Torah institute for us, to read it? It's an independent parsha to fulfill this mitzvah. Not nice. It's very derogatory. It's Gnusan Shel Yisroel, not very nice. So therefore, since Chazal tell us that the Para Aduma comes to clean up the Chet HaEgel, that's when we remember Parashas Para Aduma, we actually, in the back burner, remember, oh, this is talking about Chet HaEgel, so we fulfill this mitzvah from the Torah to remember Chet HaEgel through the back door by reading Parashat Para Aduma. That's the answer why Yesh Omrim and Shulchan Aruch say that it is a chiyuv from the Torah. אחינו כל בית ישראל הנשואים בצר ובשיב העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה ובין מתחת ליבשה עמדתנוס המקום ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצער ולברכה ומאפלה לאוירה ומשעבוד לגאולה אשתו בעגולו ובזמן קוריב ונוימר אמן